This is the Strandberg Sälen Classic NX Tremolo, and I guarantee you will love this guitar or absolutely hate it. Strandberg have taken their unique guitar philosophies and applied them to an absolute icon of the guitar world, the Telecaster, to create one of the most extreme blends of traditional and ultra-modern features that I think I've ever seen. One thing's for sure though, dude, this is going to be a divisive one, so let's take a look at why. Right off the bat, let's talk about how this guitar looks, because I am sure this is going to make it or break it for some people. It shouldn't, because there's a lot to love about this guitar, but it would be silly of me to think that all of you guys are going to love how this looks. First off, it's quite clearly based on a Telecaster, which is already going way too far for some people. One of you guys actually commented on my last video saying that they thought all Telecasters looked like a slice of toast, and that was like the funniest thing, dude. Honestly, I can't unsee it now. It's a good job I like carbs and tellies, but if a regular old telly is a regular piece of toast, then what is this? To be fair, it wouldn't be on the channel if I didn't love how it looked, and it did get me in a lot of trouble buying it. But you might feel differently, especially considering that it's got no headstock. Aside from that though, all these carves and cutaways make it incredibly comfortable. For anyone that hasn't been around Strandbergs, ergonomics is the name of the game, right? And they do it so well. Every carve and scoop on these things is intentionally placed to make playing them effortless, and even the neck profile is completely unique to Strandberg, which is huge, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. From a construction standpoint, you've got a solid Akume body in this sort of satin black granite finish, attached to a quarter sawn carbon reinforced maple neck with a bird's eye maple board, 24 fanned stainless steel frets and lumen laid dots. On the hardware front, you've got Strandberg custom OEM humbuckers, a 5-way selector with some unusual switching options, master volume and tone. Finally, there's the Strandberg Pro Rev 7 Tremolo. So it's absolutely stacked with features, dude, and it does feel like it's geared up to suit a lot of different players. Classic looks, but satin black with like a hint of sparkle, 2 humbuckers and a trem. I reckon it's got a vibe that both like classic rock guys and metal guys can agree on for once.
Son of a bitch.
And there really is not a single thing out of place on this guitar. The frets are perfect, the hardware is solid, and there is not a single mark on this thing, as you'd rightly expect. I know to some the fact that Strandberg production models are made in Indonesia and are still expensive as f*** is a huge red flag, but let's be real here, where a guitar is made doesn't matter nearly as much as who it's made by. All Strandberg production models come from their own dedicated facility at PT Court, who are the same guys who've made loads of stuff for Ibanez, Schecter, some Fender bits and countless other brands. The big difference is that this has a level of attention to detail that you can only get through having that dedicated line that Strandberg have built, and it shows in every single production guitar that I've had from them. One quick complaint though, and it is dumb, so bear with me for a minute. These come with a sick gig bag and loads of paperwork and all this other stuff, but the most important thing that they come with is this. This is the Strandberg multi-tool, and I'm going to show you a quick clip of something that I said in my other Strandberg video. It's incredibly useful and such a cool thing, but I am almost certain it'll break. Well, it did indeed break. Immediately. As soon as I got this guitar, I changed the setup to suit my preference and put it in a drop tuning, and I'm telling you now, whoever tightened this locking nut must have been swole as f*** because it was on there.
Of subprimals that are convinced that Liver King is taking steroids.
As soon as I tried to undo one of the screws, this thing just gave up, dude. Strandberg, if you see this guitar costs the best part of $2,000 and you're sending out multi-tools that cost probably 20 pence to produce, if that. Please just make some die-cast metal tools. You can't make some of the most advanced guitars on the market and then expect us to maintain them with something that could have come out of an Happy Meal. So this guitar's got looks that are so polarising it could make best friends fall out, and the quality is unreal, but that is just the surface level stuff. If you're not convinced yet with how well made and specced out this guitar is, then I have got some other huge and probably more important things that you need to know. I got into Strandberg's I got into Strandberg's for the playability, right? Long story short, my hands and arms are absolute mulch after like 14 years of being a corporate desk jockey and a couple of quite bad jiu-jitsu injuries. Basically, my arms are knackered, dude, and I get repeat flare-ups of whatever the fuck from like my elbows down. Strandberg's entire deal is making guitars that help people like me keep playing, so I took a gamble, and I haven't looked back for these reasons. The first huge one is just the entire design of the guitar. A light, headless and manoeuvrable guitar like this should be a huge bonus for anyone, and these guitars are some of the most comfortable I own, to the point where it doesn't even feel like you're holding a guitar, it's just more like an extension of yourself. It's weird, and I'm not a hippie, I promise you, but that is exactly what it feels like. Think about like the most uncomfortable guitar that you've ever played, and how you have to like keep them in place and have an arm on them or keep their neck up. This is the complete opposite of that. These things stay wherever you put them and leave your limbs completely unhindered to do whatever they need to do. It's just peak design. The next huge thing is just how simple it is to set these guitars up and make them super easy to play. The 20-inch fretboard radius, impeccably finished stainless steel frets and super functional bridge mean that you can bring the action down as low as you need to. Probably even lower than that if you wanted to, and it means there's just zero resistance on your left hand for fretting and bends. It's just glassy smooth playing all the way, and the fretwork is particularly impressive on these guitars, dude. The frets are super highly polished, they're incredibly well leveled and crowned, and there is not a single sharp fret end in sight. It doesn't quite take the #1 spot in terms of my favourite necks. If you follow the channel at all, you'll know who I think does that best, but it is up there challenging for podium. And finally, probably the biggest selling point that Strandberg have, but also something that some people might really hate, is the endure neck profile. It's like nothing else you'll have ever seen on any other guitar, and from my experience, it's been a massive help in bringing my hands back to life. While it looks like it doesn't make any sense at all, the trapezoid shape of the profile with its asymmetrical faces create multiple different planes for your thumb to rest on and provide a healthy amount of leverage whether you're playing big chords, arpeggios, bends, whatever. Wherever you've got your fretting hand on the neck, the profile guides your thumb into the correct position for optimum grip. That reduces fatigue and can honestly keep you playing for hours. But dude, I can totally understand if you're skeptical, but honestly this is not like, you know, that woman who was selling a PDF that apparently could cure blindness.
I had given my power to the medical system, and I believed that I needed glasses.
It's legitimately based in the mechanical science of how the human arm and muscles work when you're gripping, so if you're an alien, this might not be for you, sorry bro. All I can personally say with 100% certainty is that these guitars have done a huge amount for my arm health and being able to keep me playing. Obviously, I've got nothing to do with Strandberg. I am far from the level of talent that you need to be involved with those guys, so I've got no stake in this, but if you are like me and you have problems with your arms, then I would wholeheartedly recommend trying to give one of these guitars a go. Now you've heard it, let me give you my thoughts on the sound of this guitar. Strandbergs have definitely got their own thing. I've said it before, and I don't know whether it's the construction or the materials or whatever, but they've definitely got a vibe and I really like it. That being said, I think these pickups do this guitar a bit of a disservice, but you've got to bear in mind that I like my guitars chunky. I'm not a big fan of the sound of these pickups personally. They're definitely capable and can be used for a load of different styles and genres, but I don't really think they excel at anything in particular. In my opinion, the voicing is just a little bit too middle of the road and it makes for a decent sounding pickup. Where it gets a little bit more interesting for those of you that like loads of flexibility are the unique switching options that these pickups have. I've put some information up on screen for you now so you can see which selection does what, but the options like position 2 just giving the neck out a coil and then 3 and 4 being a mix mean you can get some very unique sounds, which doesn't matter to me because chugga chugga bridge and widdly widdly neck are literally the only tones that matter. From a recording perspective, I find these pickups a little bit too mid-heavy and nasal sounding, particularly for metal. This wouldn't be my main recording guitar, which is a massive shame because I love everything else about it. I do need to stress so that this is based on my very specific set of circumstances and what I want out of a guitar. For anybody who wants to play something that's like sort of the rock level or below on the distortiometer, then these are probably going to be really good for you. I'm almost certainly going to change mine though. So it's a modern headless telly with a trem. Come on dude, that is completely my thing. But there is something that bugs me about Strandberg, the brand itself. I've purposefully left this bit until the end of the video because I did want the specs and the quality to speak for itself before I explain my thoughts. But it's about the way the brand makes me feel. So first, let me give you my honest rundown on whether I think this guitar is going to be right for you. If you're like me and you love how this guitar looks, or you think it'll grow on you, then there is a huge amount of guitar here for you. The quality of the production models isn't even something you should worry about because from my experience as a customer, there's not been a single thing I could criticise on these things. They're impeccably well built and designed with a level of polish that isn't really that common nowadays. The Sälen shape is actually one of my favourites, and I might even go as far as to say it's a little bit more comfortable than the Burden, but there's not really that much in it. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Strandberg. I bought 3 of them and I couldn't be more grateful that they did exactly what I needed them to do and help keep my arms in a good place and keep me playing. The instruments themselves are fantastic. This one is no different, and if you're looking for a fresh take on the telly, then this should be really high up on your list of considerations. If that's all you need to know, then you should click off now and go and look to pick one up for yourself, because we've got to the personal opinion part of the video. Oh, you're still here? Cool. Thanks for sticking with me. Despite all that and all the good things I've got to say, I don't feel any connection to the brand whatsoever. It almost feels to me like an elitist club of incredibly talented musicians that I don't deserve to be a part of. Like I shouldn't even own these guitars because I'm not good enough of a guitarist to have them. But the real question behind that is, whose fault is it? Now, obviously, a lot of it's mine. I've always been a strong believer in the fact that you should just buy and play whatever you want, because if it makes you happy, then who gives a f? So why do I feel like it about myself? Well, I think it's because I just can't relate on a technical level to the players that Strandberg has built its brand around. Take Pliny for instance, who is absolutely my favourite guitar player. I adore his music, but I will never be able to write music or play like him without a serious change in circumstances or a time machine. I work full time, I've got a baby daughter, I've got responsibilities, like I'm just a guy. It kind of feels like you have to have dedicated your entire life to guitar to deserve one of these things, and I think that comes down to how Strandberg have built their brand. There's like an air of unrelatability regardless of how nice the people are behind the brand or the players. And I think that's the risk of what they've done. On the one hand, their players are inspirational and write some of the best music I've ever heard, but on the flip side of that, I think it can actually make some players feel worse about their own playing and not better. That unattainability rubs off on the brand, and I think it might have an effect on players where they think, I shouldn't buy one of those guitars because I cannot play like those dudes. I have got some thoughts on how they can fix this though, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper into it in another video. Not that they should really give a fuck about my opinion because they're doing pretty well on their own, but it's my channel so I can talk about what I want. It's why over time my love for these guitars has stayed super high, but if I'm being completely honest, I'm playing a lot of my other guitars more because I feel more connected to the brand and the people behind it. But if my arms feel particularly bad, then I can pick one of these guitars up and it becomes an incredible tool for helping with that, which is massively valuable in itself. But that's just my honest view on things. If you don't care about the brand and you just need a hyper playable and reliable guitar that can actually keep you playing, then Strandberg should definitely be one that you'd consider. Thank you so much as always for watching. You're awesome. Take care mate, stay safe. I'll see you later.